Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July 12th, 2022 meeting of the Waynesburg Area School District Board of Directors. Start today with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's get a couple not sitting right with us today, Mrs. Kuzer, so let's do a roll call.
Here.
Smile. Here. Zimmerman. Here.
Here.
Right. Here. Here. Courtney. Here. Marvin. Yeah.
I'm still here.
Here. Okay, so moving on to the agenda, a couple changes, Dr. Klein.
Yeah, actually, what I'd like, if we could remove, excuse me, number one under presentation, you're already sworn in earlier today, earlier this evening. So that wouldn't need to take place. And then also number 4 under business, I'd like to ask that the board would move that currently until the next meeting, to make some adjustments on the job description.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, next item is the minutes. Does anyone, or let's have a motion for the minutes, please. Approval.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any questions, anyone from our last meeting's minutes? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, on to the superintendent report, Dr. Klein.
I really have no report to anything. I was going to ask the board, we had considered not, the board one not to hold a meeting, in 2 weeks. However, we have a number of different business items that, have to be done in the next 2 weeks, are gonna have to be approved. And I asked that, we possibly do it virtually.
So you're anticipating it to be a rather quick meeting?
Problem.
Okay. Okay. So are we voting on that, or are we just
Yeah,
saying?
I mean,
It's already on the, it's on the
It's on
calendar
the
though.
Calendar, but we'd have to advertise, put it out there that it's going. But it is actually virtual.
Yeah,
You have to put a sign. on it.
that's
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody feel like they'd rather come in?
Dr. Klein, actually, I won't be able to attend in 2 weeks unless it is virtual.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is in the same situation.
And
or
then
not.
Miss
I think
Strike's gone, I
Patty
don't know
might
if
be.
she's gonna call in or not, but, okay, okay, let's just do it that way then. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that mess. That's it.
Is that all? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, do we have any public comment tonight? Just do a card. We'll forego the card today. Okay, but next time, if you would, please do that. Okay, okay. There's cards out. They're like a sign in and what you want to talk about. Yeah.
So my name is America Brocious, 13224 Delaware Circle. Dr. Klein, thank you for emailing me back in regards to safety and security of the schools. There's a number of questions that we had, and you posted a letter on the school website regarding some of those safety concerns that we had had. There's still some points that we want to discuss and would like to bring to the board's attention for more detail in hopes that we can, as parents and teachers and staff, work together for better policies. So one of the things that you had mentioned was in the equipment that WASD has several metal detectors. If you could give clarification as to where those are located, how they're being used, are kids and visitors using them at entry points? Are they at all of our schools? And are they being used at sporting events? And if so, which sporting events? At this point in time, my understanding is they are not being used at all. So I'd love if you could correct me on that. The social workers, we'd like to know like how many social workers are actually employed by the district. I know that the district had been partnering with somebody to provide some resources, but we were wondering how many are actually employed by the district, what's their role, their policies in managing mental health issues, and what are they trained in, social work versus mental health, or is it a combination? Also, to bring to your attention, last year there was no security training for any of the substitutes that participated in the school district that had subbed, and that would be something that would need to be, updated and would be extremely helpful for the subs to be aware of knowing what to do if a child becomes violent in the classroom, if a child is acting out or is unresponsive. It would help if the subs, as well as the teachers and staff, are aware of those policies and how to handle it moving forward. I noticed that in the letter that you had posted, there was something about equipment and personnel and procedures, but I may have missed the point of how the safety and the staff and other students is the procedure in which it's handled when a child is acting out in the classroom, the violent child or the unconsolable child that is acting out, whether it be at high school or elementary level, what that procedure looks like for those teachers and staff and administration of how that's being handled. That was a couple of points that we would love to know more detail. If you could follow up on that with us, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer, would you like to speak today? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Whoop.
I'm actually going to use that today. Okay. Well, our power went out about 2 hours ago up in Village Summit. Did you all know that? That was, excuse me, a really good storm. It was an excellent storm. It was a good storm. Okay. All right. I'm just going to read the letter. I sent everybody an email. I started writing them typed them on my phone. I learned how to use my phone and my laptop much better than I ever have before because I have more time now because I'm really retired now. I said I was last year, but I really wasn't. It took me a year. So I sent an email and the last ones went out during the storm. We had power on the 3rd floor and on the basement, but the other 2 floors we didn't. So if you don't get them, I'll send them again. So School Lives, Save School Lives with these 2 videos from News Networks. Hello, everybody. I am, but I'll say who I am. Margie Schaefer up in, some of you don't because we're new. This is I'm Margie Schaefer up in Blue Ridge Summit, PA, grandmother to Nathan Schaefer, age 8, attending. I will be under 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. Because I know I can be long-winded. I have an 8-year-old going into 3rd grade at Hooverville. And then I have a new 17-month-old, just a lovely little granddaughter. My heart's just melting. So please watch these short, inclusive videos. They're really, really, really serious. That would protect the lives of our dear children, our staff, our teachers, and our administrators. It's all of us. It's all of us. When 40 to 70 million is being spent on high school football stadiums, that's an average in the country. 400,000 seems most reasonable for the system in the one video. I hope there is some way the government funding will be created for this system in the school systems of America. I'd be happy to assist in researching this type of security if you need some help. Secondly, the reason this really concerns me is I left public school teaching back in 1990 when the first gun was brought to the school I was teaching at, which was TJ High School in Frederick, Maryland. At the High School for the Arts, I was head of the dance department. In the art department, right across the hall, the first gun came. My oldest was 4 years old. I left. I said, that's it. I found a way out, gave my notice and left that year. I then opened my own accredited massage therapy school in Blue Ridge Summit. And there I even experienced having the Washington Township Police enter my school to inform me and all the students and teachers there. I had 16 employees at the time, teachers, etc., TAs, clinic supervisors, to get down. We were told to get down in the back of the classroom as they had guns pulled against an armed man who lived across the street. Now, some of you older ones will remember this. That man later brought a gun into the Waynesboro, Pennsylvania City Hall in an attempt to try and shoot Judge Pence. Does anybody remember that? That was sometime, would have been 97, 98. It's a different world that I grew up in the 50s and the 70s. Please verify that you received this email. There's 2 video links. Just click them and on they go. And a lot of comments were that they were going to my Facebook page, but I isolated them out. Thank you for telling me that, because I figured out how to isolate them out. So now when you click it, it comes just to that video, And if it's still not, I'll just resend them all, because with the emergency power and all that stuff, I'm not sure if you got them or not.
I got 2, and both of them said I needed to go into Facebook. And I
Right.
am not on Facebook, and I will not.
I
go on Facebook.
understand. I don't want to be on it there either.
Yeah.
If I didn't have so much family living all around the country, I wouldn't be on Facebook either. It's the only way I can get together with my family. They're all over the place.
But if you'd like to resend that.
I'll try. And the latest people were, as you're listed on the website, the last of you, like Dr. Klein and Dr. Rita, you just got yours during the storm. And I got them all into one. Now you're only getting one. So I'm going to resend them in just one with the 2 links. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, on to board reports. Did any committees meet, want to give us an update? I'm not sure anybody met actually over the 4th. Okay, if not, on to business items, personnel, Dr. Sternerheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Hare. I'd like to direct your attention to the personnel items listed in the board docs. Beginning with personnel, we have retirement of support staff, resignation of support staff, resignation of coaching staff, appointments of substitute support staff. Continuing on then to additional listing of personnel, resignation of support staff, reassignment of professional staff, appointments of support staff, appointments of extracurricular team leaders for the middle school. And then we have a whole series of professional support staff recommendations. We have Ms. Tester, which will be in a social studies position. Ms. McHenry, who will be in a biology position at Washes. Ms. Hess, who is in a family consumer science position at Washes. Ms. Smith, who is going to be a math teacher at WAMS. The next listing is Marla Shank, who has been our athletic director for over 20 years. It is just
Marla Smith.
Marla Smith.
You said Shank.
Shank. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
Marla Smith. Thank you
Yeah.
for the correction, Ms. Harold.
Mhm.
To be, she's been a athletic director, however, in light of the moving her from a hourly employee to a salary employee, since she's not in the CBA or the Act 93, we created an individual contract. Same thing with Miss Crane, who is our school psychologist. We hired her earlier this school year. Again, since she is not in the CBA or the Act 93, we have separated her into a separate contract. Also want to welcome Ms. Mussolini, who is our new school counselor at Fairview. And additional, we have Ms. Strasball, who will be a Maori special education teacher, and we would like to welcome back Ms. Stephanie George as our behavioral program specialist. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. On to the special ed plan. That's you, Mr. Holtzman? It says business. Okay,
Mrs. McDonald, I mean.
oh, you're gonna come up and speak to us on that?
Donald's waiting for me to try to get up and explain this.
I'm looking at business, that's why.
So you have the special ed plan. Here is a printed copy, so it's very thick. I had the pleasure to meet with Dr. Royer, Mrs. Harold, and Mrs. Zimmerman, and we went over it page by page. I'm sure they'll tell you it was thrilling and exciting. What the special ed plan is, it's just a summary of all of our services and what we provide in our classrooms. And so we submit that through the state. Part of the process is making sure that the board is aware of the plan. So it's in the Friday folder, and it's also posted online under special education. If you want a printed copy, just let us know, we'll get it, but it's a lot of paper, so we don't want to kill that many trees. So a couple highlights, we are moving forward with having our supplemental learning support classrooms that provide all those life skills. I work with the state and they'll actually be labeled for life skills. So that's a big accomplishment. And then it just summarizes all the services. We have to go as far as like measuring the classrooms, making sure the classrooms are in the ebb and flow of the building, and make sure that they're big enough for the amount of students and caseloads. So it's quite entailed. I already reviewed it with our state rep, and she said it looks great, so we should be good to go. So it has to just stay on public view on the website. So if you want to see it, it's on the website too. And on the 21st, it'll be posted for 29 days. At that point, I'll work with Mrs. Harold. She'll sign off, and then Dr. Klein will then sign off, and then we'll officially submit it by July 30th. So I'll feel better after that's all done. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
And as always, if anybody has any questions, please feel free. I really have enjoyed having some of the board members come and visit, whether you want to see the house. We're still going to have you guys out there. We just didn't get it to it by the end of the year, but feel free to just give us a call and come talk to us.
I haven't killed my succulent yet. I bought a succulent when you had your yard sale.
Yes, yes.
But I think
might
that's my
have killed mine,
daughter's
but-
doing for the mom.
Good. 'Cause I killed.
Thank you. All right, moving on to an overnight trip for the basketball team. Dr. Sternheim, is that you?
Yes,
Okay.
the girls' basketball team at Washes is requesting permission for an overnight trip to Carlisle. So the recommendation is to approve as listed.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? This is booster money and it's a camp, is that right?
Yeah, it's
It's
a
basketball camp.
the basketball camp. She has some listing, like if the handout goes on and on and on. But
It
it does
does,
suggest
yeah.
that, once we have the approval, she will solidify the plans regarding the finance of the trips. I don't know of a situation where the girls' basketball team have gone in the past. So hopefully it's a team building activity and a way to continue to work on their basketball skills.
Great.
Any other questions?
Actually, I have great respect for her and I think this is great. But it said that the student will pay $50 to $75. I assume that she will make arrangements if the student cannot afford that.
I could follow up with her, but I think that's pretty much typical for the Waynesboro Area School District. If there's a situation where a student is not
yeah.
able
That-
to pay for a field trip or any other type of situation of that nature,
Excellent.
that we usually try to accommodate and work through that.
I just don't want anybody to be left out.
Sure, thank you.
No doubt.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any? opposed? Thank you. Okay, all right, on to the LERTA. Dr. Klein.
And I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Holtzman, but this LERTA has to do with companies that already exist in the district and industrial park in Washington Township, and they are asking us to expand their business and we don't necessarily have right now with it. So I'm gonna check Mr. The details of what they're asking.
Sure. And what alerta is this is the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Act. So basically, it's a way that businesses can improve the long-term tax base of the community by asking for some type of a property tax relief for the first 10 years. That's typically the way these have been structured. We have two of them in place right now, both in that same area, both in that same business park over on Wharf Road, Zane Miller Road area, that part of the Zulling. So effectively what happens with alerta is historically the district has approved them parcel by parcel. They've said, we want to go ahead and look at each parcel as they're approved. The township and the borough actually have kind of maps that have different areas and larger areas that encompass available alertas. But again, the district has always wanted to kind of see each of those businesses and approve them one at a time. I mean, they do that for many reasons because you may not necessarily want to approve a business that might not meet the guidelines of a school environment, if you can imagine that. Again, that's not necessarily going to happen, but there's always that potential. So effectively what they're doing is they actually brought this to us, and they being the Franklin County Area Development Corporation brought this to us last year. But they did not have a name of a company at that point. So they were doing the build out in that park, but they didn't actually have the company at that time. So at that point, we kind of put this on the table and said, let's wait until we see what's happening. Since that time, they now have identified this company. This company actually is receiving alert on one of the other properties in that park. They have a second building that they did not request alert on. This would be a third building. So we did talk to their CFO again today. They said that this would be probably up to 30 jobs is what they're looking for. And I think if anybody's looking for employment, I don't want to throw out the name necessarily, but they could certainly use more people just like everybody else can. Their goal is to expand their business. Again, the alerta would be about 10 years. The property did actually hit the books initially as tax, so we would actually flip that and it would go become untaxed for the first year, and that's 10% of the graduated rate for the next few years. So when it's fully taxed, it's about $23,000 a year in current prices. Is what we would receive in terms of that.
And why can't we know the name of the company?
I guess I
Said it.
in fact, talking to the CFO again today, she mentioned that, again, they're looking for employees. It's Philtech. So Philtech is the company.
And what do they make?
They do a lot of textiles. So they do a tremendous number of textiles that are used in all kinds of industries in the military. They're usually the company that's behind making a lot of upholstery products, whether it's furniture or clothing, uniforms, things of that nature. But they're the company that makes a lot of those raw materials, thread, for example. They also, I believe, have a very strong candle business as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
They're already under alerta?
So one of their properties is under alerta from a couple years ago. They did a second building, but they did not request it for that. But now they're going into a third building. They're asking for that third building to be considered as part of it.
Thank you. Add to this alerta has asked. Yes. Whether we not know that, but that they would take. I'm sure they grab them up.
I would think they would. Their first LRTA, and again, we did not really recommend this with the last LRTA that we approved as a district, but their first LRTA that goes back to, I'm going to say 2015 or 2014, somewhere in that time frame. It actually even had an employment requirement in that, and they've abided by it. So they've maintained that employment level in that area. So those are good jobs in the community. We verified that through the Earned Income Tax Office up in the county as well.
Anybody else have questions? Okay, so we're just letting us know this is on the horizon.
Correct. We would probably bring this back to you sooner rather than later, I would assume.
Okay. Anybody has anything else? Okay, thank you. On to transportation fueling costs, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry. We received a request, and I'm trying to remember if you'd received a copy of this in the Friday folder a couple of weeks ago, possibly, or, as I'm saying that, I'm trying to remember, so I don't.
Yes, I saw something about this.
Okay, thank you for saving me. So we had one of our contractors. We have two major contractors, and then we have two non-public contractors. One of the contractors, the larger contractors, had put a request in based on fuel costs increasing. They had noted that they had had an increase in cost in their fuel year over year. And they were asking for 50 cents per contract mile of an increase for the fuel costs. Just to give you some comparison in numbers, we would assume that if that 50 cents went into play, that would apply to probably all the miles that are driven by all the contractors, theoretically, if it was going down that path. They drive a little over 900,000 miles a year, so that would be about $450,000, not an insignificant amount of money. We do pay our contractors today based on an index. So the index is set by the state. We actually pay about a little over 6.4% more than the index itself. So some districts pay just strictly on the index. We pay a little bit more. And the index is supposed to account for increases in fuel. Now, the index does work, but it takes a little time. It only changes once a year. So for example, this year now that we're in, their revenues, we're going to pay them 7% more because that's what the CPI said for the previous year through December. And my guess is, looking at the numbers now, is there'll be at least another 7%, maybe even 8 or more percent for the 23-24 school year that we're going to end up paying the contractors. For us, a 7% increase, it's about $177,000 that we're going to be paying more, and we budgeted for that this year. So, you know, again, I don't want to round it to 200,000, but it's getting closer to that number that'll go up. And of course, what's always important to remember too is that the way the index works and the state works, we have to pay the higher rate this year. We won't get reimbursement for part of that. We get about 55% of that reimbursed from the state. We won't get that till the year after. So it's always on a one-year lag basis. So the state basically makes the school districts across the state, that's everybody, kind of float that money through. So that's just their mechanism. So to say all that, and then also, I guess in addition, we did increase the $2 an hour for the bus drivers this last year. I think based on everything that's been going on, there's probably, you know, I think probably as we talk a little bit, we probably would maybe bring that back to you again to do that as well. We've been using ESSER funds for that $2. Eventually we need to blend that in as the index is going up and possibly blend that out as the ESSER money starts to wipe out a little bit and complete those funds. But so anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you that information and give you that request coming in from the contractor, just explain that mechanism a little bit. And again, I can certainly answer questions because it is a kind of a convoluted process at times. Only one requested. Yeah, correct. What we do is one contractor we actually buy fuel for, and then take it out of what they would receive for their revenues. The other contractor just buys their own fuel, and we're not involved in the middle of that. Contractors could have an opportunity. For example, some school districts, the contractors would have fuel tanks on site on their property, and then the districts can buy discounted fuel. So you could go ahead and basically go out and buy, for lack of a better term, believe it or not, futures in fuel. Go out and buy fuel a year or 2 years out at a better price than what you would see at the pump. So that is a potential option. I know that's probably not necessarily an exciting option for contractors because there's a cost associated with having a fuel tank on your property and all the rules and regulations thereof. But that can reduce your costs for the long haul because you can buy the fuel cheaper than it. I think if I'm remembering last time, I think the IU was buying fuel, and don't hold me to this, but let's call it in the $4 or $4.50 range at this point is what they're buying fuel for diesel compared to $6 if you see them. Yeah, kind of they remove the middleman basically. They're basically buying it wholesale.
Okay, questions for Mr. Holtzman? All right.
I guess we would be bringing this back to a recommendation, or part of a recommendation. We do believe that dollars an hour for bus drivers would be some benefit, you know, people think longer to be able to start this drug. We've been very the increase in the fuel cost, that's certainly something that we out. But that doesn't mean their need is real. It's just
correct.
You know, again with the index, it's a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, the index is supposed to account for these things over the long haul. And again, certainly when fuel prices jump up quickly, which they have, we did as a district pay $20,000 more to our bus contractors in April, May, and June for fuel. You'll remember that we kind of did and now we didn't do it on a per mile basis. We basically did it on a ratio basis with their costs. It was $20,000, of course, not $400,000, but was basically to offset some of that rise in price a little bit in the short term. We have been seeing prices go down. I don't know what the prices will be when we start rolling in the latter part of August, but I would hope that they continue to go down. But we'll see.
All right, thank you. On to River Rock contracts, Dr. Stern.
Thank you, Mrs. Harrell. I'd like to direct your attention to the information provided under discussion item 7. In reference to the River Rock Academy, I'm looking for approval to at least approve the memorandum of understanding as a potential for a private alternative education institution, as well as an AEDY, which is the Alternative Education for Disruptive Youth options for students of the Waynesboro Area School District. If you notice there is a contract, and then it sort of breaks it down as to what's the difference between if we allot to just start paying for a per diem, and as opposed to purchasing a contract in advance. At the River Rock Academy, the one contract is offering the opportunity to have students at either one of their locations, either at Newville and Carlisle, and they would be based on the students' needs, recognizing that we do not have to move forward on a contract. And the option is to elect to purchase individual slots. If you recognize or look at the way it's listed, depending on their caseload or the number of students, you will be paying as little as $216 or as much as $3,000. So there is definitely an advantage to signing a contract in advance. When we look at placements for students, if they do have an IEP, it may be a situation where they're only there for 45 days, and then we'll be able to return to the Waynesboro School District. And other situations, it may be longer periods of time. I know the superintendents of Franklin County, I believe, are also hosting a meeting next week. So we're also entertaining not next week, on Thursday, to look at some other options. Very similar to other districts. Waynesboro is in a situation that every so often we end up with individual students who have pronounced behavioral needs, or in some cases are policy violators. And so therefore, like we've done in the past, we are looking for placement options. So I guess the discussion is, it's simply giving us the authority to move forward. We would definitely come back to the board and say this is a decision, whether it's with River Rock or Yellow Regis is another place I visited, and then we're also entertaining a potential agreement with Laurel Life.
So you're asking for us though to approve these.
Well, I'm showing the options, and so there is the option of, I'm asking for approval this evening for River Rock Academy if I cannot negotiate a better option for the Waynesboro Area School District.
Okay.
At this point, because in this River Rock Academy, they will provide transportation for our
Okay.
students, at least to the Newville location. That has been the challenge, as Mr. Holtzman has referenced, just transporting students within the Waynesboro School District, let alone to other facilities. So at this point, my recommendation is to move with River Rock. However, like I said, additional conversations are going on this week, and if there is a better option that I think is a better fit for the district as well as our learners, I will bring that to the board.
Okay, so everybody understands what motion you're making. If anyone is willing to make the motion for this.
So just so I'm clear, we're moving to approve this provided that there is no alternative found in whatever timeline for Dr. Sternoheim. Is that
Correct, and I'm assuming there's a time issue here. You would rather get this approved sooner rather than later.
Well, I think I need the approval to be able to move forward with investigating. Like, I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page and we recognize that this is a need.
Okay.
And that what will end up happening is every district's in the same position. Any of the organizations also would like you to sign up in advance. So what I would do is I will go into a holding pattern, and I will hold this contract as long as I can. So if I'm told I have to make a decision by August 15th, I will stay in communication, but I just wanted the board's approval to be able to move forward.
Does that clarify that, Mr. Morgan?
Yeah, so
Okay.
move to for Dr. Sternoheim to look into more details, but move forward with the River Rock contract for right now.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. So there are three different things listed here, okay? I thought the first one was, which is titled Alternative Education for Disruptive Youth, okay? I thought that was for secondary,
It is, this is only
and we have,
secondary.
okay, and we have 6 slots that we can prepay for,
We can, yeah, we can,
which gives us a
pay
great
for-
discount.
For 5 slots.
All 5,
So
okay.
the first is just a generic contract that talks about the details regardless of the number of students and identifies that they will take male and female students in middle school and high school.
Correct.
And they will either take them, there's 2 facilities, the private alternative education institution or the AADY, which is the alternative education for disruptive youth. And then the second is the actual, if we elect to just do the 5 contracts with the details. The third is if we say, we're not interested in buying slots in advance, but what we'd like to do is as the need arises, or if we know that we're slated for 3 students that we need to find placement for, we would like to do the per diem. And that's where it gets complicated, because when you do a per diem, it's based on the number of students at the facility. So that's why they're demonstrating in this contract how the price can really fluctuate.
Correct, except it says Newville Elementary contract.
Okay, Newville Elementary is where they have the private institution. It's
Thank you.
Newville Elementary, yes. It's not Newville anymore. It's not Newville Elementary, but it's former Newville. It's a site.
Well, thank you, because it looked like we were
Okay, now.
sending elementary school
Now,
students.
let me clarify. They will take elementary students at that facility. At this point, we are interested in, for middle school and high school. That is our central need at this point. But there are elementary students there as young as kindergarten.
Okay, so therefore, if we have 5 slots, some could be elementary, some could be secondary.
They are willing to work with us with the understanding. Now, if you look at the contract, it says middle school or high school, but I will continue to work with the organization as
Okay.
necessary.
Thank you very much.
So.
Now I understand.
So we're voting on a contract, but we may not use this contract.
That is correct.
Okay. And the 5 slots that we're contracting with, if we pay for those, whether someone's in them or not.
That is correct. I believe, Dr. Royer, that we will have 3 of those slots filled by the beginning of the school year.
Oh, I have no doubt.
But I mean, not because essentially, yeah, and so,
But I'm not sure the board realizes that. I just wanted
yeah,
to clarify.
thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And what I'm hesitant, I mean, I was moving in this direction, and Dr. Klein made me aware that there's a meeting on Thursday. So I don't want to say we're definitely, if there's a better option that might work, better for the Waynesboro School District and our learners, I'd like to hear about that option prior to moving on this. So my communication to River Rock would be, if the board approves that we're moving in that direction, I will finalize the MOU once I'm, what's the last date that I can sign on?
Yeah. So they didn't give you this price is good until.
They have not. I just talked to him today, but I
Okay.
told him that, and they're very interested in establishing a location here in Frederick and in Franklin County as well. So they're also exploring options.
So is that who you're meeting with on Thursday?
No,
No, it's just,
I mean, Dr. Sternheim, I would think that we would use these 5 regardless of whether something else happens. You know what I'm saying? I think we have some students that I don't know that I would want to put in something that's like just starting out. Sure. You know what I'm saying? So I think regardless, I don't see us not meeting. So 5 slots.
the
And this
advantage of
includes trans-
signing earlier versus later is that we are definitely guaranteeing transportation.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Anybody else?
If you add more, Rita, do you still get the contract price?
I have not worked that far, but I can continue to have those.
Yeah, I would
conversations.
get a price for if we decide to add on prior to the school year, what, you know.
Well, one of the conversations, depending on how things happen on Thursday, I've also approached them about a consortium with Franklin County Schools. So that if other Franklin County schools, and I did speak to Superintendent Franklin County today, they're interested that there could be an additional consortium with more slots, and therefore that the price may go down. So again, it's working with the other superintendents in Franklin County to try to, negotiate the best price for our learners in our districts.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
I just, gonna need some. I think that's why it's here. That the reason that superintendents are reviewing this, their biggest concern with using this particular provider, the travel an hour of the month. That's not, however, some not there enough towards so that's the side that's it. That's probably why. So, but and there is another company that has offered a sourcing approach that I'm hearing. So if it doesn't happen this summer, Dr. Sternheim's off.
My guess is if River Rock knows that, they're gonna push it. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Okay, we're good. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. On to the food service charge policy, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is a reminder from what the policy we had in a couple years ago. Obviously, the last 2 years, we had free meals in the schools. So there really wasn't a need to kind of go through a charge policy update or review these documents. However, that program is of course now ending. And so for the next school year, we're going back to the previous process where we have free and reduced applications and then we have paid meals. Our food service department has been very proactive. They've continued to encourage and have had parents filling out the free and reduced applications even this year because there's some other benefits that the state and federal government have provided in those cases. So it's been very advantageous to them to fill out those applications. Our staff have worked hard to get those. So we'll do that. We'll continue to request the applications during the return and back to school nights. And of course, we do that as well as when we first start the school year. So this charge policy is very, very minor changes in it. Realistically, it's more language changes. A lot of the items in this charge policy really reflect also not only the district's desire, but also federal and state laws. And so a lot of the federal laws go around the process of if we're using federal revenue, which we do, we get reimbursed for money for regular students and for students who are on free and reduced meals. But if we receive federal funds, then every student has to receive a regular meal. If you remember years ago, many, many districts across the state used to offer an alternate meal of some sort. And that was acceptable at that time. The federal government changed the rules about 4 years ago, if I remember correctly. So now all students, if they request, get the normal school lunch, even if they cannot afford to pay and even if they do not qualify. So what we do is we go ahead and create an account for them. If they're younger students, we're not permitted to say anything to that student in the lunch line. So a letter can go home to the parents and family, but we're not allowed to say anything to the students themselves. That's why you see that language here in that policy that reflects the federal law and the requirements. I have to say is, realistically, we have a lot of very good parents. We have a lot of good families in the community. While we do get some school debt throughout the year, most of them tend to try to pay and catch up as they can. Additionally, some families we've benefited really from a lot of generous donors in the community. We've had churches, individuals who have donated money. We have a process there, if you notice, on how we distribute that, unless they have a specific way to do it, but we have a process on how we distribute those funds to wipe out the bad debt for those accounts each year as we go through that. I've heard of districts who have tens and tens of thousands of dollars of bad debt. We've been very lucky. Rarely have our numbers in the last 5-6 years at least been more than 10,000 in a given. So that's a good sign. Again, that gets worked off. At the end of every year, the debt in the cafeteria fund, and again, this is a federal requirement, all the debt in the cafeteria fund, believe it or not, comes over to your general fund. The general fund has to incur that debt per the federal law. That doesn't mean we still can't continue to collect debt, and we do, but that's just to let you know that that transfer does occur every year. So we're basically asking for your review again of this charge policy here to make sure that we're compliant.
So just to clarify, this
Sure.
is not for free lunch kits.
Yeah,
This
free
is
lunch
for,
kits.
it's probably not very many reduced either.
No,
So
very,
I
we have
guess they
very
could
few
be in
reduced.
this. These are kids who either haven't filled out the forms or do not qualify for free lunch.
That is correct. And
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Yep.
So talk to me about parents and guardians can withhold meals. What does that mean?
So that's another rule that a parent and guardian can say that, they would prefer their child to, basically bring their own meal and not get a meal in the school. So that's a parent's right to do that at this point. So we would
So
make
what
sure
if
we
they,
would honor
what if
that
they say they
request.
want to withhold meals and they don't send a meal?
I've not encountered that offhand. I'd have to probably defer to one of the principals who might have seen that happen, but
Has anybody ever done that?
I'm seeing some shaking of heads, so I'm assuming that has happened.
And then do the kids bring lunch with them?
Or they just don't eat. Or their friends give them food. Their friends give it to them, yeah.
Are we required to have this in here?
So typically, that's part of what we ask our cafeteria proctors to help us with, that they are kind of monitoring and making sure every child is eating. We try to be really careful with kids sharing food because of the life-threatening food allergies. So especially at the elementary level, we really try to go over that with expectations that we're not sharing food, but that's often what happens is that they're asking friends for things or friends are buying stuff for them. So it's, I think Mrs. Hellman and Mrs. Hess do a great job of trying to keep those lines of communication open with parent, but I had a case just this past year that was really challenging where, the parents' wishes and what we were seeing in school weren't necessarily the same, but, we were honoring what the family was asking us to do, which was not one of the meals of the day they were not eating. So.
Yeah, they could eat.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
And if the parent says no breakfast, then I
Right,
can't
right.
allow the cafeteria employees to serve it, so.
Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion on this? Yeah, okay. Anything else? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
Thank
you. Okay, sealed bid request, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. From time to time, we have emptied out some of the Fairview basement and through an auction process. Hurley's has typically helped us out tremendously, but in the past, we've had many, many items. So at this point, we don't have that many items. But we do have some needs to eliminate some surplus equipment. These come in through the buildings throughout the year and a few of them here during the summer. What we do as part of our board policy, we come to the board for any items that we would like to dispose of. Our recommendation is that we just do a sealed bid process. It's a pretty light number of items. We could put a 2 or 3 week period of time out there, announce it, notify the community, take sealed bids, and then award it to the highest bidder. But we have just a few items on there. As you can see, not too many whatsoever.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. ESS contract renewal. Dr. Sternheim, is that you?
Sure. So the ESS is our substitute contractors, I should say. And so the recommendation is to renew the contract for 1 additional year. Just want to clarify that all ESS subs are invited to professional development that we have during the course of the school year. They don't always take advantage of all the opportunities, but that is one of the things that we've partnered with ESS. If there's something that we're providing that they are interested in. Most of the time, it's more academic related as opposed to school safety, but that is definitely something we can continue to explore. So the recommendation is to approve the contract for 1 year.
Motion,
Second.
okay. Questions?
Actually, I wanted to make a comment to Mrs. Brocious. We contract with ESS. I think that ESS should be training their subs. And thank you, Dr. Sterner-Heim, for saying that we invite these subs, to take part. Yes, except we have we contract with an outside organization, so we don't provide.
The safety committee is aware. that Kind of.
Yeah.
uh,
Very good.
Just to clarify, this is the same contractor that other school districts in the
Olive-
county use.
Yeah, right now it's all of Franklin
Oh,
County.
well, no, oh, yes, I am sorry. What tends to happen with some of these companies, they'll go to the biggest district area, get them to do our contract first, and then they'll try to move their way around the others. We are reviewing contractors. there's other possibilities. We don't know if they'd be any better, but we're in the process. And that process.
And that's why we're only doing a one-year contract.
That's correct. It's really hard. Everybody's afraid to put a trigger on that because it is a risk. But some of the other companies will promise you everything. But if one company is not renewed, they really have nowhere to use those people. They're not going to necessarily hold. They'd have to pay. So, that's not as much an issue, but, it still is a risk and worry about that.
Also, I'd like to address Mrs. Brocious and say, I am an employee of ESS. I've not subbed for the past couple of years, but I'm still an employee. I've never been offered any training in this at all. So I believe ESS should be addressed as far as that training goes.
I will tell you, with the ESS, it's correct here. Dr. I know this. I mean, from day one that I was here, we have reached out to our sub, to the company, say, we're inviting you to today, the last day of school, whatever. We offered a lot of different things. I'm not sure. We've given them surveys, haven't necessarily used those surveys to ask what can we do better. Are the lesson plans ready? Are there a lot of things we've given them that a number of years ago? And they're not getting well.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of approving this contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, South Central Services Maintenance Agreement, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is for our food service department. They incur the cost of this. And this is basically to have South Central come in and do preventative maintenance on our equipment. This is for refrigeration and ice machines. They come in and do a lot of work that our staff really are not that trained really in terms of refrigeration and things of that nature. They come in and make sure the equipment stays up and running for the school year. So we're requesting approval.
Motion,
Second.
questions?
Pretty reasonable amount. All 6 locations.
Yeah, we've used them before. They do a good job. They've been very happy with this company. And again, our food service department and even our maintenance department has worked really well with them. We really have worked together as a team. They usually oftentimes will look at vendors together. Those two, both Ms. Hellman and Mr. Adams will look at a vendor together and make a decision on which vendor they want to have to not do the equipment because based on their experience. So it's a really good team effort.
Okay. Motion,
Second.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Supervisor Agreement and Support Staff Manual. Never taken that. Do you want to take that?
It's
Everything
either
matters.
way. All right, don't mind. We've made adjustments to the administration recommending some changes to C code there and the support staff annual and advisor. We met with personnel committee, discussed that to get some feedback on aspects of these changes, these documents reflect. And that's it.
Sir, you did not.
Second.
Questions?
Not a question, just a comment. As someone who works in the financial services industry, I think this is a great change, especially being able, I'm not in a position where my job lets me turn unused PTO if I use it or lose it. So the fact that we can turn unused PTO into retirement funds, I think is a great benefit for our support staff. So I'm very much in favor for this, and I think it's a great idea.
To your point, one of the things we've had many discussions since July 1st of 2019, any employee hired at that point on does not have the same retirement benefits or much more limited than those hired prior to that time. So with that in mind, try to discuss different things that will help our teachers, our support staff out, ever, there for a better retirement. For couple of it.
Having said that, I encourage people to use their PTO and take time off. But, you know, if they do have those extra, I mean, even an extra day or two is only a benefit in the long run for those planning for retirement. So I think this is a great idea.
Okay. So we have the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pest control. That would be you, Mr. Holtzman. No meaning
That was
there.
very
That
good
was
thinking.
He submitted the other ones, so I figured, but it didn't matter. We both.
So, thank you very much. So this is for pest control and bioremediation. That's basically taking care of our grease traps. Is what that piece of it is. Obviously, that's an important part of the process to keeping our kitchens clean as well. We end up splitting a lot of these costs between, believe it or not, food service and the building. So food service has to pick up a portion of this and the district picks up a little bit of that as well. So we do split the cost there. This is a different contractor this year, but it's a lower cost than the previous one. We started using this contractor for a couple of one-off items in the last year, found their prices to be a little bit more competitive than the other company, and we're satisfied with the service. So we're asking to go ahead and use this company starting this year. We'll evaluate it and see how it goes.
Motion? Oh, let's do a motion first.
Okay, motion.
You making a motion
I'll
to approve this?
move to approve.
Second.
Okay, now, Mr.
But I do have a question. Maori is not listed here.
That's for the bioremediation. It's because it's a different system up there with the wells
Okay,
and such. That one does not have to have one. Right? Great question. Thanks for asking. I should have put a note out there for you, but you're correct.
Fine.
Yep, I appreciate picking up on that.
Anybody else?
It's obvious. I think I had that question from another board member as well. So obviously you are all reading this pretty closely. We appreciate that. Now I'm concerned how close you're reading it. So.
the second one says Maori, yes. Mhm.
Anybody else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Thank you.
MTS equipment service contract, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. So just as we have preventative maintenance for the refrigeration and ice machines, different company does all of the other equipment we have. They basically, again, would come out this summer here and do preventative maintenance on the rest of the kitchen equipment, make sure everything is ready to go to start the school. So we're recommending and requesting approval.
Motion,
Move to approve.
questions? Oh, wait, sorry,
Second.
second, thank you.
Second.
Okay, now question. Not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Financials, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. We did not have, if you remember, all of the purchase orders from all the buildings previously. So as you can see, we have the remainder of them here, as well as check registers. It's a little lengthier this time because we have check registers for the general fund and the cafeteria fund, but we have them for 2 years. We have them for the previous fiscal year because we're cleaning that up as we continue to get bills in, and we have them for this year already. So we have 2 sets of bills for each of those areas for general fund and cafeteria as well. Some of the requests that, while we've split them all out in different files, some of those requests really are only 1, 2, 3 items. Other are a little bit longer, but try to minimize that, but keep them separate a little bit. So those are all the purchase orders and requisitions. And we also have some exonerations. That's per capita and occupation tax from J.P. Harris. And then we also have a property assessment change. Those come in from the county tax office. Usually it's typically, as those which stated there, removal of property, which is usually a building, a shed, or a single wide trailer coming off the property. Or in the one case, they actually, it looks like they gave the property to the township. So now that it's incorporated as part of the township.
Okay, motion?
Motion
to approve.
Second.
So how are we doing with getting supplies in? Has that happened yet? 'Cause we've
We're just
approved some of
starting to
these.
order now because we can't really kick the POs out until, they're not really effective until July 1 for the fiscal year. So
Okay,
the fact that you did approve the budget earlier in June helps us because let's get everything together and going out. And the bulk of these were already approved POs. So those POs all go out here for with an effective of July 1. They went out, I should say. But now we have to wait for supplies to come in. So in this day and age, it's debatable. It depends on the product, depends on what's been requested. Copier paper's probably been one of our largest challenges. I know Mr. Erickson's on here too, and he's been very proactive in trying to find copier paper. We use some local resources as well, but that's been more successful. The IU, we're in a joint purchasing group with the IU, and believe it or not, a lot of items just have not been bid on at all by the normal contractor. So it tells you when you have 26 school districts putting supplies out for certain things, and contractors are just saying, no, we're not bidding. We ran into the same problem with some of our lumber bids right now. Lumber's still a little high. It's come down, but the availability is still difficult. So what we're probably going to do is have to wait and make those purchases a little bit later on in the school.
Other questions or comments?
I would throw out the one wrinkle with everybody, not just our district, but most districts have always started school. It seems to be earlier and earlier every year a little bit. But as we start school, that basically almost that 4th week of August, it makes it a little tighter too to get supplies in. And then our teachers who proactively come in before they need to come in, they're usually in our buildings in early August saying, where's my supplies? We're like, well, they're not here yet. I'm sorry. And that's been a challenge historically, probably even more so now with some of the supply issues.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the financials, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Down to, did you include all 3 of those in there? You
Yeah.
didn't talk about the other 2, did you? Did he? Okay. All right, Clayton comments. Anybody?
Just want to follow up, the duty of board meetings and people in the audience that can text me the responses. So Dr. McCallum clarified that the basketball team is going with booster money.
Thank you.
And also indicated that, and reminded me that oftentimes within our subfolders, we do include the safety plan, but it's something we can continue to reevaluate. So it's one of those things that it's a hard copy that's in the subfolder. However, we can continue to work with Officer Gordon for better communication. Want to invite the board if they're interested. The Way Back Foundation, which is a school foundation, it has a golf tournament on July 22nd. Anyone would be interested in playing or sponsoring? And although we did not get any paper, Mr. Holtzman, the Staples Distribution Center has been very generous to the Wayfair School District. I believe we got 12 pallets of free stuff, including 29 gaming chairs. Now, a gaming chair at this point, if you look at it, looks exactly like a really nice office chair. I'm not sure why they're calling them gaming chairs, but we have a number of them. So if you're out and about and think, wow, these are nice chairs, thank you, Staples Distribution Center. And maybe next time we'll get some paper, but we'll take the 29 chairs. So we are,
Great.
I believe we're gonna raffle off some of those chairs on opening day. So we are trying to complete the set to have matching chairs in the conference room at Wash's, but just a little perk of the yeah, maybe Erica got a chair that works.
Good.
So spreading some chair joy at this point, so.
Board member comments. Anything?
I just had a question. Can you clarify when is induction luncheon?
Sure. You'll get the official invitation, at the next board meeting. It is August 15th in the Wash's cafeteria with our new educators. And, then we'll have a follow-up induction meeting on August 22nd, but the luncheon is on the 15th. And we will send them. Opening day is the 16th. So we have in services 16th, 17th, and 18th. And then the very first day of school is August 24th.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Okay, we will be going into an executive session after our meeting tonight and will not be returning. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you very much.